Maurice Nicoll, Psychological Commentary, Volume 2, based on his work with Gurdjieff, Birdlip, February 10th, 1945. The Doctrine of Eyes. Commentary on the Doctrine of Eyes. On remarks made about the Doctrine of Eyes, Part 2 of 2. Have you ever noticed yourself talking away, full of righteous indignation, full of grievance, and suddenly noticed the whole thing is lies? Or have you ever come to the point of really seeing that your sufferings is all lies, and experienced that extraordinary inner calm that results through seeing the truth about yourself? Because just as all lies make us restless, so does truth make us calm and at peace with ourselves. Here we are all marching into life surrounded by false and lying eyes that pretend, eyes that are full of invention of ourselves and deception and deceit. And we can meet other people in similar situation, and we expect to get into contact with them or understand them, or more horribly still, to help them save their lives. It is not really all that laughable. Is it a cause of the blind leading the blind? For this reason, it is so necessary to see eyes in ourselves and to see how they lie. Just go with one of those invented eyes for a moment and let this eye talk. And in a moment, it is in an uproar inside you. And before you know where you are, you probably have identified with this eye and you have said I to it, and it has you in its full power. And you rise from your chair and you go and you see the person concerned and just say that all this eye wishes to say. Perhaps all the time you are thinking, you are behaving consciously. Now, this work says we must try to live more consciously, both towards ourselves and toward other people. And the way to begin to do this is to become conscious of our eyes, especially our negative eyes. How wonderful it is to be in a state of consciousness in which you can see eyes wishing to behave in a certain way or to say certain things. If the power of the work is such in you that you avoid them and do not say what you could so easily have said mechanically. And even although these eyes are thinking in you, you have not the power of not going with their thoughts because you have other thoughts that are stronger coming from the work. And how often in this connection you may be able to do it for a short time, but afterwards when you are more asleep, these eyes that you refuse to go with suddenly come back and attack you, and you write a letter and you ring up, or you go and see the person, and the whole matter is as before, and you add to the chain of your karmic cause and effect. Yet because you have separated from these eyes for a short time, things may not quite be so bad, especially if, while they are discharging themselves, you have a sense of dislike of them, a consciousness of them, and even when you cannot control them. This is the whole point. The slight disbelief in them. This is the beginning of separation from them. And then after a time, when you become more experienced in the work, you discover you have to do many other things before you have paid enough by effort to escape from the power of such eyes that wish continually to keep your life down to one level. You may find you have to work on something quite different. Your laziness, your lack of power of concentration, your lethargy in taking in new impressions. You may find you have to make efforts about all sorts of small things you have ignored. You may find you have to learn something that you ought to know, such as not to forget your umbrella, as Ouspensky once said. The reason is that everything hangs together in our psychology and its makeup. Everything that widens us helps us in our general work on ourselves. In the fourth way, we are supposed to be able to understand all sides of life to some extent, to know something about everything, not to be ignorant people. The work says we must work against ignorance in all its forms. All esoteric teaching says this. If we live in a few small parts of centers, our basis is wrong. We are too narrow, and then work will be very difficult, a narrow, jealous matter full of envy. The work is supposed to broaden us in every sense and to make our whole view of life broader and more intelligent. Working from too narrow a basis is not likely to lead to any results. Mr. Ouspensky once said, "What is the good of your trying to study the special knowledge of the work when you have no ordinary knowledge that can be got from life?" At the time, he was speaking about balanced man as the first stage to aim at. That is, the man whose centers all have some development through effort, and how he was emphasizing how in the fourth way, which lies in life, people must know about life, know everything they can about what is going on so that they can take in impressions from all sides of life. He was talking about ignorance and about what a curse it was and how it was impossible for quite ignorant people to meet with the fourth way, or if they did meet it by accident, how it was impossible for them to understand what it was about and what absurd things they made of it. He said to me about a young man who came into the work, he is quite ignorant. He learns this work and he thinks he knows something, but he has nothing in him with which to compare it. He does not see that the knowledge of this work is quite different from anything he could have learned from life. And he has never learnt anything from life. He has nothing to make contrast with, nothing to make a struggle with inside himself. A man must be in life and know about life before he can see what this teaching is about. Otherwise, he will take it all for granted as if it were life. That is always the difficulty with young people, and often with older people who know nothing and come into the work. They hear about the work before they have tried to learn about life, and this is the wrong order. He was speaking about how the work must make a struggle within oneself and was emphasizing how unless the work makes a struggle, it has no power to act on you. The work then just goes into false personality. Certainly, the work in older people goes into false personality, but it should eventually create a struggle. A person who has magnetic center to begin with and can observe himself or herself is capable of seeing how the work may lie in false personality, and at first increases their ambition and self-love and makes them seek some kind of preeminence. But because the quality of the work is quite different from the quality of anything belonging to false personality, if there is magnetic center after a time of separation begins to take place between the false personality and those eyes that wish to work. When this happens, the work has begun to act on a person. And if that person, by reason of many unknown actions in the past, has to a certain extent earned the possibility of interchange, then those eyes that lie gradually become more and more observable. And the great process of interseparation begins. Speaking generally, personality becomes more passive and the real essential side begins to develop with all its accompanying insights and mental and emotional perceptions that gradually pass toward a realization of the influences of the higher centers. But as long as we take ourselves as one, this is impossible.